How did an only child raised by a single parent in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Toronto
Daylight shooting
shot and killed, deadly stabbing in Scarborough,
end up a millionaire at 25 and retired at 40? This is Alan, entrepreneur, car fanatic, and real estate investor. I spent a day with him to pick his brain, learn his story, and see all the luxuries and challenges that come with his lifestyle. Alan finished getting dressed before I sat him down to learn more about his background.
So I was born and raised in Toronto. Parents separated at the age of 6 or 7, and then I ended up being raised by my dad until I was about 21. I had a lot of cousins and a lot of friends. I didn't drink at all, I didn't smoke, so I didn't, do any of that teenage crazy stuff. I liked the idea and premise of business, buy certain bike parts or stuff and sell them, so I knew I had a business background. My adult life is actually even more interesting because I get to do pretty much anything I want.
How many cars have you ever had in one given time?
At most, maybe like 5.
He says at most 5.
Alan is definitely living the dream, but to understand it all, we're definitely going to have to dig deeper.
So I started my first retail tire business when I was 26. I was just selling automotive parts and tires and wheels on any platform I could find, and eventually that kind of grew. It turned into a 23-employee operation, oversaw $8 to $10 million a year in sales of tires.
It's fascinating how a small idea with the right energy can evolve into a business that creates, in Alan's case, generational wealth, especially for someone who grew up in poverty.
We didn't have a lot of money growing up, but I had Jordans on my feet and I had piano lessons once a week, but I didn't have luxuries that a lot of kids had.
So how often do you drive this car?
Because I enjoy driving it so much, I try to get into it every day. Even if it's raining, I don't care. I drive my cars.
And how many cars do you think you've owned since day one?
31, I have the list.
But how do you find inspiration to strive for this level of success?
I can't really think of anyone that I actually looked up to, like I kind of grew up in the ghetto. I had to kind of do everything myself and get myself out of that kind of life.
So this is where your haircut?
This is exactly where it's sitting, the haircut.
Sorry, call me fat. How much do you pay for a haircut?
About 90 bucks.
How often do you get your haircut?
I come once a week just to get the cleanup, and then a major haircut every 3 weeks.
Can I cut some of your hair? Just do one thing.
Sure, fine. How much would you pay me to cut your hair? 12 bucks.
That's not bad.
I know.
You guys hiring?
I ran my retail business for about 12 years. Every year we grew 10 to 15%. We were really busy. I sold that business at the age of 38 to, in essence, retire.
I couldn't help but wonder why someone would abandon a business they built from the ground up at such a young age.
You become your business. The business becomes you. You kind of don't exist anymore because you're giving 120% of yourself. You wake up 7 years later, you're like, what just happened to my life? You forget who you are, in some cases you might get out of shape, which I did. My health declines. So these are inherent risks that you kind of just take on. You wake up one day and you're like, something's got to change.
Alan took the risk of selling his business to benefit his quality of life, but he's not done yet.
Part of my weekly routine, I actually have a skincare routine. So I go to a spa and get some facial treatments and a nice coffee fix there too.
Good coffee?
Cheers. Oh, it's way too hot. Before we get to what Alan is doing now, I wanted to understand how he was able to make his business so popular.
I never let customers ever be upset and stay upset. I knew early on that my customers were going to be my biggest marketing strategy. And that's kind of how I grew my business, is by word of mouth. I really relied on that heavily, and then kind of befriending a lot of my customers.
I learned that a large part of Alan's daily routines are focused on self-care, general health, and just bettering himself.
Okay, so what are we doing today?
Angelica's gonna do facial lighting.
Excellent.
This is just too funny for me. Like, I can barely be seriously holding the camera. Like, you would never have someone filming you do this. When you go, I'm gonna swallow. Anti-aging. You guys hiring? I keep asking. I'm desperately looking for a job.
You are?
No, I'm actively looking. You really do that like every week?
Yeah, I try to at least get out here once a week. Bye.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's think my biggest personal success is the day that I finally understood that work didn't need to rule my life. I needed to figure out my sweet spot in life, get to it, and kind of live in that moment. Things started adding up, I think, on my 30th birthday when I just finished the 90 days of P90X. I just figured out I made my first million by that point.
How he figured out he was a millionaire was honestly just bizarre.
When I realized that I made my first million, I actually had to use an online wealth calculator.
Really?
Yeah, because I was confused. So I actually used the calculator and it told me that I was worth, let's just say 1.1 million at 30 years of age.
You'd think someone making a considerable amount of money would know their net worth, but I think it really speaks to the fact that he was so consumed running his business.
I then kind of got a grasp of life. Even though I didn't have a good balance of work-life ratio, I was figuring it out.
So what is Alan doing now besides just self-care?
So we're at our dealership, Toronto Auto House, which is located in Vaughan, Ontario. I've been here for about 2 years. My business partner owns the dealership and I have business investments with him here. So I invest money and I have cars here and him and I do a lot of profit sharing and have a good business relationship that way.
Before we get into his work, let's take it back and check out his house.
So I set up my den as a little office area for me to not do much in.
What's on your screen here?
Got my Spotify open.
Spotify chill
I mean, here,
tracks.
look, I got some banking stuff there too. So.
Nice to zoom in on that. What's your favorite show of all time?
I gotta go Breaking Bad, Ozark, Shameless.
Mine's Breaking Bad, for the record.
Taught myself how to cook the past year.
Let me see what's in the fridge. He's like exposed, like, I do a lot of cooking. So you have an ensuite bathroom, walk-in closet.
We're also redoing this washroom, redoing that washroom, but slowly.
So there's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Do yoga in the window?
Absolutely.
Do you do yoga?
No.
No?
I stretch. Guys, this is the secret of the Bulgari Extreme.
How many have you tried before this one? That smells pretty good.
Yeah.
What would you do if they stopped making it?
So how much is Alan really working now, and what are his responsibilities?
I don't really have a typical work schedule. I try to spend at least 2 days a week here. I oversee and manage some of the higher end stuff here because that's kind of where my gig is. Got myself a BMW M5 competition.
Oh damn, that's this one right here. Is there anything that you don't put detail and attention to?
No, everything's got to have wow factor. It's got to impress me first before it impresses anybody else. It's my favorite color, M5 in the gray. It's a competition, which is a more rare package. It gives you the carbon fiber and the 20 extra horsepower. This one has the white leather interior, which is kind of rare too, and I love it.
How much inventory, like numerically, is in this room right now?
Let me calculate, I don't know. You have a calculator?
No, I don't. There we go.
6 million.
Damn.
This is some fancy shit.
6 million.
Despite all of his success, everybody has a rock bottom, and I needed to know when that was.
I'd probably be when I was around 22, broke, in debt, and I was trying to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and I'm not thinking too far ahead that things are gonna be like so bright.
So where does most of Alan's wealth come from, and how is he compounding it?
Wealth happens in the background without you noticing. It just happens when you're making a series of good decisions. After that, I realized that, hey, maybe I gotta buckle down, stop spending money on designer stuff, and I stopped, and then I started putting more money into real estate, buying and flipping homes. You create wealth that way because you're making money on the side while you yourself are busy running your own business. We could do top down.
Could you put it down right now?
Yeah.
Wow. The only place I've ever done that is Grand Theft Auto.
Understanding Alan's well-balanced life leaves me with one remaining question. What's next?
Plans for the future are vague because I don't really think about it too much. Again, I'm living on the premise of day by day right now. I'm starting to focus or shift my focus to Florida as I have a house there too, so I want to slowly do a cross-border thing so I have the best of both worlds. I can pretty much honestly sit here and tell you, I don't think there's anything that I would actually change about my life. There's no decision that I made that I regret, you know, business or personal or otherwise. I mean, I feel like everything I did was on the right path to lead me to exactly where I am right now, and I can't really think about any given moment where I would say, you know what, I wish I did this differently or I did this differently. So, you know, I'm content, I'm happy in where I am.
Big thank you to Alan for letting me tag along for the day, and thank you to everybody watching for giving me the opportunity to make videos like these ones. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe because I will be releasing videos like this one for weeks to come.